Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope everyone is having a great day today and great weekend. Amelia, Gamas, Lori, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. 4 p.m. This is where your trivia can be found. Oh, well, there were three. Now there's none. Now there's one. Now there's seven. I love how this thing works. Reichardt, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope that you're staying safe out there. Cement Shoes, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Cement Shoes. Rayanne, good evening and welcome. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Faith Forlon. Faith Forlon. Medgasky, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you are doing well. You had a great weekend. Sal. Sal is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. I was reading that comment and it went by. Come back here. Oh, you guys can't see that one. Oh, that's private chat. That's why there's a P in purple. I was like, oh, I don't know who that is, by the way. Oh well. I got sidetracked there for a second. I got to remember that you guys can't see all the chat. There's private chat, and then there's another chat next to it that is where people send me messages or they post something on either, well, formerly known as Twitter. Now it's X. Hope you all had an awesome as well. I'll bet you had fun researching tonight's guest serial killer. Yeah. Med Gas Guy, uh, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Grim Sleeper, is somebody who has been on my radar for a long time. Some of his crimes have inspired other serial killers and what they've done. Others have talked about Lonnie. They've mentioned him as they just say Lonnie. They don't say Lonnie David Franklin Jr. or they call nor do they refer to him as the Grim Sleeper. The Grim Sleeper is a name that was given to him by somebody else. It wasn't a name that he picked for himself. But we'll get into that on tonight's trivia. But several serial killers have referenced Lonnie, directly over the years. Still can't see your comments on this channel, Gemma, nor on Joey Brooklyn's channel either. You can't see it on Joey's either. That is odd, right, Cart? Love Joey Brooklyn. No, but the only time I ever get a chance to see Joey Brooklyn or his comments is when he's on duty runs. But good evening, Purple and Carly. Welcome to tonight's trivia. And Kitty Q, good evening and welcome as well. Your blocked list, I accidentally blocked one of my friends. All of you have to do is hit the button. It happens. So you have to go into your settings on YouTube probably and unblock them. That could be it. I know on my end, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. Lonnie Anderson, isn't that the actress from WKRP? Lonnie Anderson? I think so. I think that's the lady who played um, the receptionist on WKRP in Cincinnati. I think that was Lonnie Anderson. I mean, I know she did some movies with Burt Reynolds and some other things too. But when I think back to certain actors and actresses, I always remember them and I associate them with a certain role. Well, that's just me. I don't know if everybody else does that or not, but I certainly do. All right, let's get the trivia started, ladies and gentlemen. Get myself in my little window here in just a minute. Move through the first couple of these. All right, very first, start off with, ladies and gentlemen, viewer discretion is strongly advised for all the content that you will see tonight and all content that you will find on this YouTube channel. The content that I make for this YouTube channel is not meant for those under the age of 18 and is not recommended for all audiences. Some people may find that the content and visual aspects or sounds to be disturbing. None of the content that I make is meant for those under the age of 13. If someone under the age of 13 is viewing this content, they are logged in underneath another account, and that is not my responsibility. So, again, viewer discretion is strongly advised. We are playing for fun only. No one is better than anyone else at this game. Hateful or degrading remarks towards another person playing will get you timed out and then removed. There are a total of 18 questions tonight, including 2 bonus questions. These questions are not meant to be exploitive of the victims or the families. They are for educational in nature only. Donations to my work, are always appreciated, but not required ever at all, but always appreciated. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I counted up all the trivia nights that I did. It took me a while to go back through them all and count them. But tonight, October 1st, 2023, is the 220th trivia night that I have done. 220. So for those who say that they've never, they didn't know I did trivia, I'm sorry. That's YouTube and their suggestions if they don't let you know about it. I have done, this is not an inclusive list, but I've done music trivia, crimes in the music industry, Hollywood crimes of stars, stars of Hollywood who have committed crimes, serial killers, true crime, and serial crime trivia, which is different. Not all the serial crimes have to be serial killers. I've done trivia on people who've committed the same acts over and over again, and that becomes a serial crime, not necessarily a serial killing crime. But all right, very first question, number 1 tonight. 10 of the murders committed by Lonnie Franklin Jr. were matched by ballistically to his 25 caliber handgun. After his arrest, where did they find his gun? Was it A, in his bedroom dresser, B, in his garage, C, in his truck or car, or D, in his locker at work? 10 of the murders committed by Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Grim Sleeper, were matched ballistically to his 25 caliber handgun. After arrest, where did they find this gun? Oh, and I forgot to put myself in my little window. Boop, boop. Hello. Hello, everyone. I feel so late to the party. I have only been here a few times. Ran. It's more than okay. A lot of people haven't seen even probably, I guess, 50% of the 220 different trivia nights I've done. Now, that's partially my fault because I've moved it around from Fridays to Saturdays to Sundays, and I moved it around different days, and it was kind of hard to follow. And it wasn't always consistently as it has been, the last year and a half, I've tried to stick to one day for trivia, one night for or one stream for um, a recap show, crime recap show on Saturday mornings. But it's all right. They're all on YouTube. You underneath different. If you go to my main page, you can scroll down and look at the different past trivia night. There's one subject matter, and then you can find another one, but just below that is crime trivia. Thank you, Gemma. Appreciate it. Ten of the murders committed by Lonnie David Franklin Jr. were matched ballistically to his 25 caliber handgun. He liked hanging out in his garage, but I have no idea, says Kitty Q. After his arrest, where did they find his gun? The correct answer to question number 1 is A as in apple. A as in apple. It was found in his bedroom dresser. Don't know if it was the top drawer or the bottom drawer or anything else, but there was one dresser in the actual bedroom, and it was found in the dresser. But that is where they actually found the handgun. All right, question 2. Of all the victims and all the women the Grim Sleeper stalked, there was only one woman who survived his brutal rage. Yeah, only one. There are no sisters or brothers of that individual. There may be a friend or two who can pop in and say that they were related to her or they know her. He shot her at point blank range 3 times in the chest, is what I learned later on after putting this together. He then dumped her for dead. Who was this? Was it A, Marguerite Washington, B, Cecilia Davenport, C, Juanita Jane Simon, or D, Janquilla Robinson? E, Lori Vallow. Yeah, world might have been a much better place if Lori Vallow had been shot 3 times at point blank range before she killed her kids. Mid gas guy is going with D. Rayanne. Anna is going with C. Kitty Q C. All the victims and all the women the Grim Sleeper stalked. And there were far, far more people that he stalked than he ever had a chance to kill. Steph F., good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Steph is going with C. So is Purple in one of her previous lives. Yeah, right. Kill Lori Vallow in the life that she said that she believes that she had when she was married to Chad Daybell. I always get those mixed up, Dumbbell and Daybell. Too bad she didn't meet up with a serial killer, right? Well, I mean, I guess she did technically, if you think about it. Let's just hypothetically say that Alex Cox was the lone gunman and the person who did all the killings. Alex Cox would be a serial killer by all definitions, and the body count would be the following: Charles Vallow would be the first one. Although Joseph Ryan died medical complications, but they killed him from the inside out slowly, but he doesn't count as an actual victim. So Charles, then the dry run hit on Tammy Daybell, and to try to kill her, but just to see how close he could actually get to her and shoot her. So she doesn't count as a victim though, but she definitely was the dry run. Then there's JJ, Ty Lee, and in between there, in the earlier part after Charles, around killing of Charles, they tried to kill what's her name? Brudeau. I'm drawing a blank on his name. but his last name was Brudeau, and that's why she's back in Arizona. He fed uh, cheese to Carly Robinson and then let her go. All right, question number 2. The correct answer is A as in apple. Marguerite Washington was the only sole survivor of the Grim Sleeper, aka Lonnie David Franklin Jr. He shot her 3 times at point blank range, then shoved her out in an alleyway behind a business dumpster and left her for dead. But a passerby just happened to see her moving next to the dumpster and she waved him over. She got medical attention and she survived. She is the only victim that the California Bureau of Investigation. That's kind of weird because the CBI in California and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation both are CBI. But the California Bureau of Investigation, the State Patrol for the state of California, and the FBI believes that Marguerite Washington is the only surviving victim of his. Did you know the very first victim of Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was Deborah Debbie Jackson, age 29. Her body was discovered August 10th, 1985, shot 3 times at close range in the chest. Her body was partially nude, dumped in an alleyway, just like Marguerite Washington. That's a very common method of how he got rid of his victims after he was done with them. She was at the time a homeless drug addict addicted to speed and crack cocaine. She was more than that, though. At one time in her life, she was a singer before a car accident drove her to drugs to seek relief. She was a sister, a best friend, and a big sister to Cecilia H. That's all it lists her as, the only last name as it is an H for her last name, who was not related to her, but she cared for her. Cecilia H. apparently had some type of a physical disability, and Debbie used to help take care of this lady. They don't know what the connection is other than she was like a big sister to her, but she used to help her push her around in from place to place in a wheelchair. And she would bring her things. But Cecilia H. lived in a adult home for those with other physical disabilities, who are disabled. But she died before they ever got back. The LAPD got back to actually interview to find out how she was actually connected to Debbie. But Debbie was the first victim of Lonnie David Franklin Jr. Called into one of his kills to 911. I don't remember who it was offhand. I'm not aware of that one. Med gas guy, but I'm sure he did. He'd like to toy with people about his past and and what he's going to do in the future. All right, question number 3. Like a lot of serial killers, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Grim Sleeper, kept trophies of his victims and potential victims. After his arrest, how many actual trophies did they find? Was it A, 219, B, 341, C, 411, or D, 119? How many trophies? And when it comes to trophies, these are items that were taken from the victim for him to remember the victim or potential victim in this case. That does not count the photographs and everything else that he may have taken from different victims, or their homes. Just trophies to remember the victim or to remember the potential victim. Some men choose with 144,000. Good evening, Lemon Pie. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I trust that you had an excellent weekend. How many trophies did Lonnie David Franklin Jr. collect from victims and potential victims? Question number 3. Oh, yeah, Kitty Coo. There were definitely a lot of photographs. Carly's going with A, 219. Madagascar, B. Like a lot of serial killers. In case you're wondering, if some of the more popular serial killers who kept trophies, you can put all the following in this category who collected trophies from their victims and potential victims, or people, and when I say potential, these are people that they intended on going back to kill later, or they took these items from people because they were stalking them and they wanted to go back later. Ted Bundy, Samuel Little, uh, both of them, BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill, Gary Ridgway, all kept trophies. Israel Keys, all kept trophies from their victims or potential victims. It's very common, actually, because they get to relive the excitement with that item that they took from each victim. Thusly, in their minds, refreshing the memory of the victim and the kill themselves. By holding that object, they can remember every aspect of it. It brings it back years later, months later, a day later, whatever it may need to be. I had a great weekend. Astros first in division. Woohoo! Jane, good evening. Yeah, the Astros. I do believe didn't they win the West? Because the Texas Rangers and the Mariners are beating the crap out of each other for that wild card spot. At least the last time I checked on it, I don't check on it an awful lot. All right, question 3. The correct answer is B as in boy. He collected 341 trophies. The items included all of the following: jewelry, state issued ID cards and driver's licenses, welfare cards and identifications, actual pieces of paper that were registrations from their cars or other things that they owned, locks of hair, lipstick, and undergarments. These are the type of items that Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, collected. And he had 341 of them. Question number 4. Why was Lonnie David Franklin Jr. given the nickname the Grim Sleeper? Was it A, he watched women sleep before killing them? B, he loved to take naps himself a lot? C, he took off over 10 years between killings? Or D, he said his victims were merely taking a nap? Why was he given the nickname the Grim Sleeper? My peeps, good evening, my peeps. We're only on question 4. There are 14 more questions to go, my peeps. And good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. I can actually word. I trust that you had an awesome weekend. I'm glad you could join us tonight, my peeps. Starfire is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Starfire. Welcome to tonight's trivia. All the questions tonight are about the Grim Sleeper, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. I trust that you had an awesome weekend. Glad you could join us tonight. I have no clue. I'm doing horrible, says Kitty Coo. Well, we can't know about every serial killer, Kitty Coo. I'll tell you at the end of the night, how many of these 18 questions I knew the answers to before putting this together. Question number 4. Why was he given? Maybe I need another beer. There you go. LOL. I have no clue, but I'm listening. All right, Gamma. Why was Lonnie David Franklin Jr. given the nickname the Grim Sleeper? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer to question number 4 is C as in cat. C as in cat. During his serial killing spree, he stopped killing, according to most authorities. He stopped killing for 10 years. He took off. He killed a whole bunch of people, stopped abruptly when he thought the police were onto him, took off the next 10 years, and then came right back at it full force. But he was given the nickname by the media, one person in particular, and we'll get into that, a further question on this trivia tonight. But because he took a grim sleep, he just stopped killing. That's according to most authorities, not all. There are a lot who think that what he did was he changed things up, but we'll get into that. Rayanne is what? 0 for 4. Well, there's a lot left, Rayanne. Rayanna. Did you know Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, was engaged to marry Sylvia Parker? And ladies and gentlemen, I tried to find out what her real birth last name was, but she has gone by so many different aliases, and even on her LAPD, I guess you call it jacket, she has 11 different last names listed. Which one of those is her actual birth name? Your guess is as good as mine. But she was known as Sylvia Parker when at one point shortly after she married him. But just one of the last names that she used, who didn't exactly have a clean police record herself. She was known in the area of Los Angeles, especially the South Side or South Central, as a con artist, a hustler, and a party goer. Oddly, though, the two of them hit it off and were married less than 14 months after meeting. She believed Lonnie was just a soft-spoken man and a hard worker who never did drugs that she knew of, but he drank a little too much. And this goes back to the comment that somebody had posted earlier. I think it was Kitty Coo, who said that he liked to hang out in his garage. Him and his neighbors would sit in his garage or in the driveway with lawn chairs and just get plastered. That was one of his favorite things to do. And, well, you'll learn more about it as we go on here. Next question. What was the biggest help Lonnie David Franklin had in getting away with his murders for so long, besides that he killed mainly drug addicts, runaways, and hookers? Was it A, incompetence of the LAPD, B, his intelligence, C, he always left evidence of other people behind, or D, mountain lions and mountain lion fur? What was the biggest help to Lonnie David Franklin in getting away with killing for so long? He was a gentleman and a scholar. Reichard, he was actually tested. He was just below brilliance level. He was a very smart individual. Unfortunately, he went down the wrong direction, like every other serial killer out there. Like they say, there's a fine line between brilliance and madness. Jane, I'm killing you with some of these. Mountain lions and mountain lion fur. And I'm not saying this is the correct answer, but C always left evidence of other people behind. That's a common trick that other serial killers have done. Left either cigarette butts or other pieces of discarded trash to throw off authorities. So when they tested it for DNA, even today, they test the stuff. They're like, "Hey, there's a candy bar wrapper that shouldn't be here on the bed next to this victim." And they test it and they find the DNA of someone completely different, some Joe Schmo who works at Burger King or something, who was nowhere near, the scene of the crime. Wouldn't be the first one. One of the most popular ones is Ridgway did that. Every time he discarded a body, he always left either hair that he gathered out of a trash bag from behind a barber shop, or cigarette butts that he found discarded on the sidewalks. And he would leave those behind to throw off authorities. That and constantly change the tires on his truck so they couldn't match up the tread pattern. Freaking Barry Mountain Lion Morphew. I was wondering when Barry Morphew was going to make a visit tonight. It's funny, right, Cart? It's funny. Question number 5. What was the biggest help Lonnie David Franklin Jr. had in getting away with murder for so long? The correct answer to question 5, ladies and gentlemen, is, matter of fact, it's B, his intelligence. On top of his actual intelligence, he studied the LAPD, their movements, and how they operated in and around the city. He knew when to dump the bodies because he always did it during shift change. Officers would be out on patrol, and then when they were going back to the station is when he would discard the bodies. So it could not be found and discovered immediately right away in these alleyways and behind businesses next to dumpsters. And sometimes he actually did throw the victims in the dumpsters. But on the ground next to dumpsters and alleyways were his number one MO of discarding bodies. But he watched the LAPD and he studied them. And then he would sit back and watch from an vantage point to see how they were actually processing the crime scene. So he actually looked, okay, they're dusting this dumpster, so don't touch the dumpster. Wear gloves. And he learned as he went along, and he by studying what they were doing, using his intelligence to his own. But you could also make an argument for incompetence of the LAPD, which we'll get into later on. Question number 6. He took photos of women sleeping. He took videos of some sleeping as well. Before leaving, what did Lonnie David Franklin take from every home besides a trophy? Yes, I hinted to this earlier. Not all items that are taken from a crime scene or a home or near the victim are necessarily trophies. What did he always take besides an actual trophy? Was it A, an undergarment, B, a snack from the fridge, C, a toothbrush from the bathroom, or D, a pencil or pen? My way that I can find another job besides trying to read that. Come back here. Find another job besides dealing with the public makes me feel like I may be a trivia quiz soon. Oh, I'm sorry, Steph. I'm truly sorry about that. I couldn't deal with the public either. And good evening, JDR, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope that you are having a pleasant weekend. Glad you could be here with us. He took photos of women sleeping. He took videos of women sleeping as well. Before leaving, what did Lonnie David Franklin Jr. always take from every home besides a trophy? Is he the one who ate after killing his victims? No, he did not necessarily eat at every crime scene. Carly, to answer your question, there are a couple who have though. Richard Ramirez would eat everything in the refrigerator. That I don't know if he went through the cabinets, but he'd eat everything in the refrigerator until he made himself sick, and then he'd vomit all over the kitchen, and then he'd eat again, eat more. But that was just one of the weird quirks of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. But not even close to being the only one who ever did that. William Bowden, he used to always enjoy a nice meal after he helped torture and kill. But all his murders were took place in the same place. Is he in custody? Is he still alive? He looks like someone I saw the other day at a truck stop in Jersey. Lonnie David Franklin Jr. Reichardt is very much dead. Sounds like a lovely man, right? All of them are lovely individuals, aren't they? Question 6. The correct answer, oddly, ladies and gentlemen, is D as in dog. He always took a pen or pencil from the home because he always wrote down the addresses in a little spiral notebook that you keep in your shirt pocket. He would write down the address, and he would put a check mark next to it for access to the home, where the victim slept in the home if it was easy to access. So getting into the home, access to the bedroom, and then if it had a third check, like they had no cat, no dog, or anything else that would disturb him actually getting in and out. If you got 3 check marks, you most likely are dead right now today. But he always took a new pencil or pen from every home, and he had a little shoebox along with all the photographs that they discovered in the garage. They found all these pencils and pens, and they could not figure out why the man had all these used up pencils and pens. But it was one of the quirky things. He would look for a pencil or pen to steal from every home, and he wrote down the address of it. And also, they believe that he never confessed to this, but they believe he did it so he never came back to the same home again to case it and break in and take pictures or videos. But I'll get into the pictures and videos. I'll get into much later on here tonight. All right, question 7. Oh, this first off, this is what you see on your left is the age-enhanced drawings, renderings of what they believed the Grim Sleeper looked like. Going from youngest to oldest, from right is the youngest to the oldest is to the left, and the one photo that's all the way to your right is the actual booking photo from the day that Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was arrested. And talk about a 1980s outfit. He was wearing a windbreaker, like a sweatsuit thing, with that material, that polyester or whatever the hell they call that stuff, and matching pants and white sneakers is what he was wearing the day that they arrested him. You can see the top of the 1980s colors there, with the purple and green and pink. It was a bad time. One cop even said, basically, who cares? They're just prostitutes. Yes, correctly, Kitty Coo. All right, next question. For a large portion of time while he was active serial killer, What did Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, do for a living? What did he do for a living? Was it a police officer, B, a busboy at a Mexican restaurant, C, a sanitation employee, or D, a florist? For a large portion of the time during his active serial killing, what did he do for a living? Gas guy, kitty cute, go with C. Ooh, cement shoes, exotic dancer. That's one of the things that I was not able to discover, well, along that lines, about Lonnie Franklin, Jr., the Grim Sleeper, is I could not find any references in his background to pornography, strip clubs, or dealing with the less desirable. But I mean, he dealt with the less desirable because they were mainly his target audience for his rage. Instagram influencer. Steph is going with writer. He should be my proofreader. Instagram influencer. You was a TikToker. He was the original MySpace hoe. What does C say? C says a sanitation employee. Is there something blocking C on your end? Question number 7. For a large portion of the time while he was an active serial killer, what did Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, do for a living? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer to question 7 is C as in cat. He was a sanitation employee. And the reason also why he dumped his bodies next to dumpsters and in dumpsters was because he could sit back and he had a reason for being there in the area when the police found the body dumped to a dumpster. He would pull up in his trash truck. Oh, I'm here to dump the trash from this business. And there's someone dead there. Oh, I guess I'll leave. But in the meantime, until they questioned him, he got to sit there and act like he was actually working. Additionally, if he dumped him in a dumpster, he could take him out to the landfill and dump him there. And nobody would know. That's why they know that only 10 murders were actually convicted. He was convicted of 10, but how many did he actually get away with where he dumped them in a dumpster and they are somewhere buried in the Los Angeles landfill? Because you have to remember, there were quite a few years, and he took off 10 years from the time of his first killing in 1985 until he was captured. Add additional 10 years on top of that, where he wasn't killing at all. Those bodies would be so far buried back in the landfill, they would never be able to find them. Even if they brought out cadaver dogs, they would never be able to find them. Finally got one. There you go. It was my daughter when I took a pause for the cause. Question number 8. Believe it or not, Lonnie Franklin was very well respected in his community. People were shocked when he was arrested. What did Lonnie do every Thursday night after work? Was it A, volunteer at a food bank, B, volunteer at a homeless shelter, C, volunteered to help the elderly, or D, volunteered to fix neighbors' cars? What did Lonnie Franklin Jr. do every Thursday night? Good evening, Hillbilly. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Hillbilly. I'm glad you could be here with us. I hope you had a wonderful week and weekend. Lonnie David Franklin Jr. What did the man do every Thursday night after work? He volunteered for a local performance of the Rocky Horse Picture Show. First time he showed up, he would be a virgin. I used to go watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show be performed live in downtown Minneapolis, just off of Hennepin Avenue at the this movie theater was right next to this awesome bakery. But I would go watch it. I didn't ever let anybody know that I was the first time I was ever there, but I used to go see it all the time. It was across the street from across the street and a couple doors up from I think it was a Laugh-In comedy store. That was, of course, that was back in the '80s, though. Late '80s, '90s. That stuff was there. I don't know if any of that's still there anymore. I haven't been there probably 25 years. Let's go do the time warp again. Thought he killed someone, but it wasn't. It wasn't an opinion, an option. Red for the Blind. No theater are in my county. You could put on the Rocky Horror Picture Show anywhere. You could do it in a park. And you don't have to have a stage. I've seen it done in parks. I've seen it done in gymnasiums. Believe it or not, Lonnie Franklin Jr. was very well respected in his community. People were shocked when he was arrested. What did Lonnie do every Thursday night after work? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is D as in dog. He volunteered to help fix neighbors' cars. Before getting absolutely loaded in the driveway with his neighbors, he would help fix cars. Whoever didn't have the ability or the tools, they'd bring their cars over, and these gentlemen who all sat in the driveway and got loaded all the time, they would fix people's cars, try to get them running. If they didn't have the money for parts, how to make the car last longer, they did all kinds of things. But this was in South Central Los Angeles. Apparently, pretty common for people there because they ain't the only one that I've heard that has done something like this, in that area. I would love to open a drive-in movie theater. I don't know where a drive-in theater is left anymore. We used to have two of them here, but they're both gone. But that would be fun. I haven't been to a movie theater since the '90s, early '90s. I think the last time I went to one, Kitty Coo. Wonder if it because they didn't make money. There's got to be some reason why they're gone, or either that or the property values got so expensive they couldn't pay the taxes or something. All right, next question. Bye-bye. The photo you see in front of you are photos.
Oi, I told you your dad was acting.
That way.
Out.
Well, small interruption there. My son decided to come in, and this is not content for a 7-year-old. The photo you see on the screen here, though, is 40 of the pictures that Lonnie himself took. As you see, a lot of these women are asleep, and yet some of them are very much awake, alive, and looking at him. So, of the thousands of photographs that they found stashed away in his garage, not all of the Polaroids were taken of people who were asleep. Some of these people actually smiled, as you can see in the photos, and looked right at him. while others are asleep and have no idea that he took photos of them. Oh, Jane, he is a cutie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached the midway point in our trivia night. This is when I have scheduled every week. We take a 6-minute break. Do whatever you need to do for the next 6 minutes. Use the restroom, get something to eat, maybe pick up Chud Daybell's book and read a chapter if you're so inclined to do so. Do whatever you need. Get a hot glass of tea and some cookies. Do whatever you do. Just make sure you watch out for mountain lions while you're doing it. And we'll be back at it in 6 minutes from now. Grab a quick nap if that's what you need to do. Oh, Renee, I always will. Me and my wife do a podcast about our family life and our son, and we won't even put him on the podcast there or allow photographs or share them with anything. It's mainly because at the age of 7 he can't make the legal conscious effort to decide if he wants to be on social media in that aspect. Although he does have a YouTube channel where he makes videos and uploads them, but they're all private and nobody knows about it. But he's not on those videos. He mix matches copyrighted content. But he's really good at making little movies. Some of them are 5 to 10 minutes long, while others are 2.5, 3 hours long. And he adds special effects to them and all kinds of stuff. But a 6-minute shower. There you go, lemon pie. I'm doing my journal. There you go, journaling. There is still a drive-in here in Tennessee. Wow, that's cool. Smoke them if you got them. I'll eventually finish one. Yeah, y'all ought to see the ashtray that I have here in front of me. Yes, I smoke cigarettes. They're like all half smoked. I never smoke a whole cigarette. I light it, I forget it, I smoke it, it goes out because I didn't smoke it. So I end up burning through and half of a cigarette, like terrible. My journal helps me release my emotions, as you can understand. The last few days, I totally understand. We have a drive-in here, but it's about 45 minutes away. My friend, when I was in high school, used to work at our local drive-in, and they're supposed to charge. There was a fee per car. There was it was like $4 for the per car, or $3 for the car, and then it was like $2 a head. So they used to just charge by the car. That's when people would all climb into the trunks of your 1960s and 70s Cadillacs, and then they pop out of the trunk. There'd be like 50 kids in the trunk of a car. So they had to change. It was like $3 for the car or something like that, and then they charged $2 a head, and everybody had to open the trunk of the car. But he worked there. That was when I was in high school, an awfully long time ago. But and then, which I never could understand, because they charged per car, and per head, and then they had benches and stuff by the snack bar where you could go get snacks and stuff. They had picnic tables there where you could sit down and eat and watch it. And they had also 2 rows of like old movie theater seats. They were like hard wood. There was no like padding on them at all. But you could sit there and watch the drive-in movie, and then get back into your car if you wanted to. Piloting a car was like so fun. That's really smart to protect your son. You had to move to a safer place, and you're an adult. Well, thank you, Cheryl, and good evening, Cheryl. I'm glad you're able to make tonight's trivia. We got 1 more minute for the break, ladies and gentlemen. 1 more minute. One of these days, I'm gonna pop up in Tennessee because my friend moved from here. She bought property down there, and she's building a house right now. So I'm gonna go see her again. She's been my friend the longest out of all my friends. I've known her probably I don't want to say, but 40 years, if not longer. I've known her. It's always been a great friend. My favorite is a double feature, and it was Starman and E.T. Mm. 3, 2, 1, and now we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Next question. Well, thank you, Reichart. Convicted of killing 10 women, the California State Police, along with the FBI and office in Los Angeles, believe the Grim Sleeper real kill total is higher, even if they can't prove it. What do they believe the real kill number is for Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Grim Sleeper? Is it A, 14, B, 19, C, 25 to 35, or D, 36 to 55? What do they believe his real kill count is for question number 9? I remember several classic horror movies we went to as a kid, driving clear Blackula, Theater of Blood. Ooh. Yeah, take my stupid light off my clipboard. Question number 9. Convicted of killing 10 women. They shrugged their shoulders and said, "How should we know?" How should we know? I mean, Lonnie David Franklin, was never going to tell them. He was never going to tell them about all the different crimes that he committed. That was darn sure. Carly and Kitty Q are going with D. Purple D. Cheryl's going with C. Question number 9. Parents went to Rosemary's Baby, and I was asleep in the back seat. Well, I woke up, scared me to death. That's a good movie, though. Rosemary's Baby. That was definitely a good movie. All right, question number 9. The correct answer is D as in dog. 36 to 55 is what they believe the real count is. And the reason why they believe that the count is that high is they believe that during the years when he was not killing and during underneath the MO of the Grim Sleeper, sneaking into homes, and killing or kidnapping women and then killing them and dumping them, they believed he changed his MO during that 10 years of his hiatus. They don't believe that it was a hiatus day. They believe that he was doing the same, killing, but doing a different thing somewhere else. During in Los Angeles, during those years, there were a lot of homicides, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people disappeared and were never found or seen from again or heard from again. A lot of it, you'll never find it that way again, but It was incompetence on the part of the LAPD. Uh, Police people didn't want to believe that there could be a serial killer in the area, or they believed that the person who had, that the crimes were committed by more than one person, that this person killed these people and this person killed these people, but none of it was connected. They didn't want to believe that it was a serial killer who was hunting women in the South Central Los Angeles area. And it scared the living, bejeebers out of people who lived there, especially those of the African American community, because nobody would listen to them, that all these people were disappearing over and over again, and they still never heard from them. They just vanished without a trace. Their bodies weren't found, and that's why the FBI in particular believed that what he did was he changed up his MO and decided, well, instead of dumping him next to an alley, I'll take him outside of town and and dump him in up someplace where no one's ever going to find them, and they still haven't. Or take them to the landfill, throw them all into the dumpster where nobody would ever find them. Chester Turner was another African American serial killer similar to Lonnie David. Chester Turner, yeah. They actually think maybe over 100. Is it up to 100 now, Kitty Coo? But 36 to 55 is what the FBI Los Angeles office, along with law enforcement, with the state police, believe. At least, the information I have. But I wouldn't doubt it if it was over 100. Question 10. Of all the photos and videos found stashed away in his garage, over 1,000, not all the women are victims. Some were victims and some have never been identified. What were the rest of them? Getting super creepy here. A. Hollywood celebrities sleeping. B. Female coworkers and friends sleeping. C. Female family members and teenage daughters. Or D. Female neighbors sleeping. Of all the photos and videos found stashed away in the garage, over 1,000, not all the women are victims. Some were never identified. What were the rest? Much worse during the crack epidemic. Yeah. And there's a lot of evidence too that the U.S. government was involved in making the crack epidemic much worse than it ever needed to be. They made it worse by incarcerating generations of people. They made it worse by allowing crack to be flooded into the poor, African American and Latino neighborhoods. It's been proven that they've done it. Let certain people smuggle drugs into the country by the CIA, and their part, along with cocaine, slapping cocaine, which was basically a drug for those who were more well off, slapping them on the wrist and saying, "Don't you do that cocaine again." Whereas opposed to somebody who would have a lesser drug like crack, incarcerating them for long periods of times and destroying, communities over and over again. Generations of people incarcerated over it. Ex-Jersey Shore cast members. Purple's going with A, B, C, or D. All right. The answer to question 10 is B as in boy. He broke into the homes of coworkers and friends and took pictures of the women while they slept. All of those photographs have been identified. They know who all of those individuals are. But there are 35 women, even with the help of the public, that were never identified from photographs that they found in the actual boxes of photographs that he took. And he took a majority, not all, but a majority of his photos were Polaroids, Instamatic camera, photographs. Excuse me, but not all of them. Female coworkers and friends while they slept. Creepy. Did you know that the case against Lonnie David Franklin Jr. went cold and Grim Sleeper went cold for 14 years? No new murders and no the modus of operandus (MO) were discovered. However, police almost didn't even notice he was back. In March of 2002, the body of Princess however you pronounce that, was discovered. Lonnie had changed how he killed, hunted, discarded bodies, which sent shock through the entire detective squad of the LAPD. Princess was seen willingly leaving her home. She was beaten with an object and strangled to death. All of his victims to that point had been shot. Again, adding more credence to the fact that while he was, the Grim Sleeper case went cold for all that time, for the 14 years, that he was out there killing all the same, but he just changed his MO, but then came back to pick up as the Grim Sleeper all over again. That's messed up. And there's a lot more evidence to the fact that he may have actually, been killing the entire time, but we're here to learn about the Grim Sleeper and Lonnie. Next, question 11. If it wasn't for one woman refusing to let the murders of African American women just slip by without anyone noticing or caring, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. would have never been caught. Who is she? Was it A, Alicia Alexander, B, Bernita Sparks, C, Christina Pelsick, or D, Barbara Ware? If it wasn't for one woman refusing to let the murders of African American women just slip by without anyone noticing or caring, Lonnie David Franklin would have never been caught. Who was she? It wasn't cold for 14 years. They hid stuff, in my opinion. They probably did, just didn't talk about it. You have a point there. Just guessing. C, says Medgas guy. E, Melanie Gibbs. Melanie Gibbs. B, says Cheryl. Anna is going with C, Sal. B, Lemon Pie. Taylor Swift. The Swifty Kelsey, connection. Reichardt, C. Googly eyes, watching eyes. Sprinkled Donuts is in the house. Good evening, Sprinkled Donuts. Truly sorry if I missed you earlier, but I hope you're having a wonderful weekend and week. Thank you for joining us tonight. If it wasn't for one woman refusing to let murder of the African American women just slip by, but without anyone noticing or caring, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. would have never been caught. Who is she? The correct answer to question 11, ladies and gentlemen, is D as in dog, Barbara Ware. She was a reporter with the LA Weekly and LA Channel 7 News at the time. She also worked off and on as a freelance writer, but she actually made the community in the larger Los Angeles area through the LA Weekly articles that she had put out, outlining every one of the victims. At that time in the early 80s, late 80s, the way that they reported the murder of African Americans and Latino women and those others of color and other ethnicities other than white was African American woman found murdered behind, pick a pop gas station. No suspect has been, arrested at this time. More at 10. They didn't list a photograph. They didn't put a name up, even if they had identification on them. They didn't report on it because, well, nobody cared. And a lot of the police at that time didn't care. Like Kitty Q, I think was mentioned earlier, there were a couple of different officers with the LAPD and detectives with the LAPD were like, hey, they're just hookers. Who cares? They're discardable. They don't, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter that they were someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's sister, someone, someone who was a member of the community. Maybe they might be on the outside marginal, edges of society, but they were someone. But they were just yesterday's news. And if they covered it more than once on the evening news, like at 6 o'clock and then at 10, you were lucky, if they even did it then. But Barbara Ware absolutely refused to allow all these murders to go by with nobody paying attention to them. And she kept on and on and on the law enforcement, and LAPD and detectives and the chief of police to look into and take these crimes more serious than they had up to that point. Question 12. He stalked his victims. He took photos of them. However, he used a lot of different tools in his bag of mental knowledge to get them in his truck and to his car. Where did he dump all his victims? This one should be an easy one. It's a ringer. I threw it out there for you. A, in the dirt lot outside of town. B, next to dumpsters or in alleys. C, next to dive bars. Or D, church parking lots. Where did he dump all of his victims? And we're talking about only those of the Grim Sleeper. Not if he possibly killed during his 14-year hiatus underneath a different MO. Question number 12. We got B, 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 another B, another B, a B, and then another B, and then 4 more B's, and then Rykart B, of course, and then we have Cement Shoes with E, Chad Daybell's Pet Cemetery. Oh, wow. Did they ever find Ricky the raccoon in that fire pit? I don't think so. Rykart, it's a no-brainer. All right, your average of winning just went up. The correct answer to question 12 is B as in boy. Next to dumpsters or in alleys. He dumped all of his victims in next to a dumpster or in an alley. E, dumpsters by church dive bars outside of town. It's a good one, Lemon Pie. All right, question number 13. Oh, I can't read the top line of that one. My thing's over it. I'm sorry, with the second one. The Los Angeles Police Commissioner William Bill Bratton actually started a task force to look into the murders of these women. Oh, it wasn't. So I guess the first line is it wasn't until 2007. William Bill Bratton was an officer with the LAPD, and the entire time when encouraged to start a task force years earlier, he refused to admit a serial killer was alive and working in South Central area. Yet everyone seemed to know it but him and the chief of police. Yeah. When they were questioned later on, They both were like, there's a serial killer that was working in the area and somebody brought this to us earlier. I don't know. It's like, did you not read the newspaper articles in the LA Weekly and the evening news that this lady just absolutely refused? And yet it took you all the way until 2007 to start a task force to look into these murders? Yeah. All right, next one. Question 13. Where is Lonnie David Franklin Jr. today? It's another softball. A, he died, so he is in hell. B, he is housed at San Quentin on death row. C, at home watching Jersey Shore. Or D, he is housed at Sing Sing prison on death row. They knew he didn't care. Yeah. Did he die? Is he at San Quentin? Is he stuck at home watching Jersey Shore? Or is he at Sing Sing? E, in a portal. Carly, Sing Sing's in New York. A is the same as C. You know, we're probably keeping away, or all the Jersey Shore fans are probably really quiet. As much as we make fun of the Jersey Shore. You watching Jersey Shore? Shh. Oh, wait. I hope A. Living in his mother's basement. Playing World of Warcraft. I make fun of it, but I've never played it. Living in his mother's basement. Question number 13. The correct answer is A as in apple. He died in prison. He is in hell, hopefully right now today. They did not do an autopsy on him. He died of unknown causes, is what it says on the actual report. He was found unconscious, laying on the floor in his cell. He had a one bunk cell, so he didn't have a cellie that killed him. And he was in protective custody at the time on death row. You're going between death row and protective custody. I should make that clear. He was on death row, but going in between the two of them because the law enforcement that was talking to him still about the crimes that he committed had no access to him to a meeting room from death row. The only way they could talk to him on death row was to come to their door and put a stool outside the door itself and talk to them through the actual doorway. Not exactly the most comfortable if you're going to have any kind of lengthy conversation with anybody. But that was how they actually talked to him. But he was found unconscious in his cell. Nobody knows. How old was he? I did not write that down, right, Cart? Probably died of heart failure. Might have been. You know, if heart failure would probably be, you know, right along the same line, you know, a more likely cause. I mean, but they didn't note anywhere in the report if there were any wounds on him. I mean, somebody could have choked him to death, you know, gotten to him and killed him. We don't know. Next one, question number 14. Lonnie David Franklin, the Grim Sleeper, reportedly sent a letter to NBC Channel 4 Los Angeles, placing blame of some of his crimes on a made-up man by the name of what? Was it A, Hector the Terrible, B, Juan the Night Phantom, C, Roberto Killer P, aka Killer Pimp, or D, David, a local cab driver with no nickname? Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, reportedly sent a letter to NBC Channel 4 of Los Angeles, placing blame of some of his crimes on a made-up man of by what name? He could have overdosed. Don't know. Like I said, they didn't do it. They don't do a whole lot of autopsies and investigations on reports of death row inmates when they die. I mean, you're lucky, when it comes to an actual prisoner, if they die under any suspicious circumstances, that they look into it at all, because snitches get stitches in prison. So no one's going to talk to you. No one's going to tell you if if that person was doing drugs and they overdosed. Somebody brought in a giant bag of heroin, or he had balloons in his butt that burst and he died of the overdose that way. It's just kind of like, well, you're on your own. You either hope that you can find a snitch that's willing to talk to you, or they don't investigate it at all. Taylor Swift. They all seem ridiculous, so choose the poor cab driver. Question number 14. Sprinkle Donuts is going with C. Right Cart going with D. Cheryl is going with D as well. Cement Shoes is going with the Zodiac. The Zodiac did it. Chalk another one up for the Zodiac. Oh, mountain lion done it. There we go. There are those mountain lions again. Mountain lions, or Roberto, or David the cab driver. Who's going to see here? Scrolling up. We have Taylor Swift. Probably was Taylor Swift. Roberto. Nobody thinks it was Hector or Juan. Question number 14. All right, well, the correct answer to question 14, ladies and gentlemen, is A as in apple. Hector the Terrible is how the letter was signed. Hector, and then the Terrible in cursive below it. The FBI knew that this letter was sent by Lonnie David Franklin Jr., or he had somebody else write it out. And the letter actually included some details of a homicide that he had been convicted of, that was never released to the media and didn't come out in trial or in any Freedom of Information Act request. So there was enough details in there to whoever wrote the letter knew who the actual murderer was. And it's very common for those who are on death row to try to get other inmates to take their bids or take their crimes from them. Maybe they think they have a chance at parole, or an appeal could be successful, but they won't be successful if they have this murder on their jacket. So they'll tell another inmate all the ins and outs of a murder and say, you take this one, or you blame or place blame on somebody who all entirely different, that has never been discovered. But the FBI believes the letter came from him. He either wrote it or he had somebody else pen it and then blame it and sign it as Hector the Terrible. But they knew it was, basically, what the entire letter was about. And, it's like, why even bother to look into someone named Hector the Terrible? There's a giant bobcat lurking in my backyard right now, so I can't go take the dogs out. Oh, I'm sorry, my peeps. I would agree that Hector is a terrible name, right? All right, question number 15. Just another crazy former military service member. Yes, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., who would go on to become the Grim Sleeper, served in the U.S. Armed Forces. Which branch branch was he dishonorably discharged from? Was it A, the Space Force, B, the Air Force, C, the Army, or D, the Coast Guard? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Coast Guard is considered an actual real branch of the armed forces, just like the Space Force. I wish it would leave soon. Well, I hope your doggies just stay safe. That's all. I go away, Mr. Bobcat. Question number 15. Ooh, a lot of C's. C, 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 and C. You see, we think it's C. C. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. You see, I see. Do you not see what I see? I do not like them, sir. I would not like them here or there. I do not like green eggs and ham. Just another crazy former military service member. Does it say why he was discharged honorably, Will? Yes, and I will get into that in just a moment, Med Gas Guy. I will get into it right after this question. Just another crazy former military service member. What branch of service was he dishonorably discharged from? Question number 15. It's after my chickens, but it's not going to get them. I keep them pretty secure. Well, that's good. My wife had chickens at one time. What got her chickens and killed them was domesticated house cats. Not ours, but domesticated house cats got them. One that we have a lot of cats in and around our area, and not this house, but our old house. And we have one that used to show up there all the time. We called Phantom. It was an all black cat, but that thing was just mean as snot. So we were pretty much convinced that it was feral. But if you just walked anywhere near it, the thing just took off. But it got both of the chickens. One of these days, my wife will probably make me get chickens again. I don't say a lot because I'm afraid I'd give away the answer. LOL. All right, question number 15, ladies and gentlemen. The correct answer is C as in cat. C as in cat, the United States Army. While Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was in the United States Army, he was stationed in Germany. One night, him and three other guys, so there are 4 people total in a vehicle, were out up to no good at all, and they picked up a 17-year-old girl. They all took turns raping and beating this 17-year-old girl, but she survived. And just before they dropped her off, she was able to convince Lonnie David Franklin Jr. She was able to convince him to give her his phone number, convincing him that she had a good time. And when she went to authorities and told them about this, she said, I have the phone number for the one person in the group. And they set up a sting at a train station for him to come back to the train station thinking that he was going to hook up with this 17-year-old girl again. And when he showed up, they pounced on him, arrested him. He was discharged along with the other 3 men he was with that night. All 4 of them were dishonorably discharged. Lonnie Davis Jr., David Franklin Jr., was given a sentence of 41 months in jail. But for some reason, and it's still not clear, he was given an early release and went back to Los Angeles. And very shortly thereafter, he started his killing spree. Was he killing as the Grim Sleeper when he first got out of the army? We don't know. There may have been victims before that he practiced on, that he didn't shoot, that he strangled and dumped in other parts of town. But in South Central Los Angeles, he then became the Grim Sleeper because of the MO of sneaking in, taking photographs, and killing these women all the same way and discarding their bodies in the same manner. So to answer your question, Gas Guy, he was dishonorably discharged for the crimes that he committed in Germany of rape and assault. Right? That's actually the city of Los Angeles hired him as a sanitation worker. All right, question number 16. Go back to 1985 in Los Angeles, California. The police really didn't care who was killing ex-cons or hookers or runaways or drug addicts. When they did look into the murders, what did they call the serial murder case? Did they call it the Mamba murders, B, the South Side missing, C, the South Side Slayer, or D, the Mountain Lion victims? Go back to 1985 in Los Angeles, California. The police really didn't care who was killing ex-cons, hookers, runaways, and drug addicts. When they did look into the murders, what did they call the serial murder case? I don't think any serial murder case is not sickening. But yes, Lonnie David, Franklin Jr. was definitely one sick, twisted SOB. I mean, if you have to put him on a scale of like 0 to 10, with 10 being the worst, unfortunately, I would put Lonnie probably at about a 6 on that scale, where someone like William Bowden would be a 9 on that scale. 0 being the least disgusting, twisted, messed up individual in the way that they killed their victims. Lonnie did what he wanted to do with these women and dispatched them quickly. But still, there's nothing to be honorable about, any of these serial killers. Reichart D, of course. It's the mountain lion victims. Kitty Koo is going with B, the South Side missing. Reichart C, my peep C, and Cheryl C. Go back to 1985, the Los Angeles, California. Police really didn't care about ex-cons, hookers, runaways, drug addicts. And you can use this, if you use this entire thing, the MO of Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper, you take this entire thing and you move it to, and you put a white man in charge of it, like Gary Ridgway. The police thought the same thing about all of Gary Ridgway's, victims too. They're just hookers. They're runaways. They're drug addicts. They didn't care about them either, and they were white. He didn't care. They didn't care about them. Well, if you live on that on that side of town and you're doing these kind of things, being a hooker or a drug addict, things are going to happen to you, right? Just didn't care about them. I'm going with B because they downplayed it so much. Sean Vincent Gill was a sick son of a bitch. Yes. Gillis. I should cover him. I should cover Gillis for me. So I'm going to put Gillis down now before I forget. That way I don't forget later on. Nope, they thought those people were as trash, and it's horrible. It is sad. All right, the correct answer to question 16, ladies and gentlemen, is C as in cat. They called the serial murder case the Southside Slayer. That's what they originally called it before it was nicknamed the Grim Sleeper, the South Side Slayer. Bonus question number 1. If you are thinking about becoming the next rising star as a serial killer, start by killing all your family now. That's a joke. Okay, don't do it. How did the LAPD finally link those murders to Lonnie Franklin Jr.? Was it A, DNA from his brother from an arrest? B, DNA of his father, who was a rapist? C, DNA of his son from an arrest? Or D, the DNA of his sister, who was a murderer? Well, I had a great time, but I must go. Well, thank you for being here, Rihanna. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a terrific week ahead and you stay safe out there. You were. You're right. I did mess that up. Thank you. I was like, what? What did I put? Your. It should be your. Start by killing your entire family. Don't do that though. Don't kill your entire family if you want to become a rising star and as a serial killer. Email me instead of killing your family. You can contact me at 411now business at gmail.com. All one word, no spaces in there. 411now business at 411now business at gmail.com. Just 411 now business at gmail.com. Instead of killing your entire family, if you're a serial killer, go ahead and write me a letter, at that email address. Don't kill anyone, right? I know this one. I really do. It's C. Says Kitty Q. 10 more seconds. And the correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, to the first bonus question is C as in cat. Lonnie Franklin Jr. was caught through familial DNA. They did not have his actual DNA profile, well, to match it to in the system, but they did find his son's DNA in the system and they matched it to that. That was how he got caught, and then convicted, obviously, of the 10 murders. But through his son's DNA, familial DNA, Kitiku was correct again. Next bonus question. March 29th, 2020 was a special day for Lonnie David Franklin Jr. You could say it was one of those days he certainly will never forget. What happened on March 29th, 2020? A victim's brother beat him to death. B, he died and state doesn't know how or care how it happened. C, he won the lottery. Or D, he found out he was wrongfully convicted. What happened on March 29th, 2020? His family calls him a snitch. Not that he had much of a choice with it. March 29th, 2020, a day that Lonnie David Franklin Jr. will never forget. B, but A would be nice if it's correct. March 29th, 2020. Mountain Light ate him alive. Yeah, that's a good one, right, Cart? Mountain lion got him. Got to be careful. Those mountain lions are everywhere, and they're vicious. Cheryl's going with B. March 29th, 2020 is a special day for Lonnie David Franklin Jr. One of those days he will certainly never forget what happened that day, ladies and gentlemen. The correct answer is B as in boy. He died at the state prison. The state doesn't know how, nor do they care how he died. He's dead and gone. He just emptied out a cell so they have someone else to stick in it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the questions for tonight. All 18 questions. This is completely optional. You do not have to give yourself a letter grade. You don't even have to look at the screen for this question. But did you get 14 to 18 right? Getting better all the time? Did you get 8 to 13 right? Could have done better. C grade 3 to 7 was tricked by the mountain lion. Or D 1 to 2 kidnapped by a man in a Yugo. E, don't judge me. Mountain lion expert here. 1 point for each bonus question tonight. Again, this is completely optional. You do not have to. The police didn't even release the 911 call or photo sketch until 2009. They suck. Yeah, there was a lot. I'll give you that, Kitty Q. There was a lot of mistakes that were definitely made, and they probably could have caught him a lot earlier on, because the area where he dumped his victims. If you overlay the area where all of his victims were found within, in the direction from his home, he dumped all of his victims within 3 to 5 mile radius of his home. He may have gotten them closer, than that, but he dumped them within a 3 to 5 mile circumference of his home. And, that's one of those things that they've known since the 1970s, the behavioral analysis unit with the FBI. Is that a serial killer only works within a certain circumference of their home because they feel at home and at peace in that area, and they don't feel like they're going to get tripped up or caught. They know the area, they're familiar with it. But even when the first victims start appearing, they didn't even bother to look around. Who's watching us? Why is there always a trash man watching us? Why is there always a trash truck over there? Is it trash day even? Nobody even bothered to put the simplest little pieces of the puzzle together. And that, incompetence, but also at the same time, it's kind of like, they didn't want to admit to it that there was actually a serial killer going on. And you got a C, Kitty Q? 3 to 7 correct? I thought you got more than that.